you today. So maybe a bit background. So I'm responsible customer success manager for Central Europe and Eastern Europe. So why does become visibility and real-time visibility also reality for B2B customer? So you can imagine, and you know it from yourself, so B2C customers basically wants to know where the goods are, even where the taxi driver is. And you can see also transparency even in food delivery. So there's basically the same need for a B2B customer who wants to have a better service and transparency also for his flows. So how do we and why supply chain visibility becomes now reality? And you can see, and let me start on the right side where you see the little pictures. So we as Shippeo, we can aggregate data from all various kind of sources. So you can see, of course, that we can directly get GPS positions from a truck telematics, but we can also directly get data and positions from your TMS, WMS or ERP systems, but not enough. So you can see that we can also get from data directly from ports, from ships, parcel providers, also from app and various systems. So how does this become now reality? You can see now we have some bullet points, like simple interfaces can now break information silos. And what is quite important, this reduces immensely integration costs. So besides that, we see that carriers and all over the world are constantly increasing their IT maturity level. So what does it mean? You have seen it on the right side. We do not need to rely only on truck telematics. We can also get GPS tracking also via TMS system used across Europe. And what does it bring to you? So we see immense reduction of investment costs, which brings exactly a quicker ROI, and it's reached much faster as we have standardized APIs available. So which 4 big benefits do we want to present to you today? So you can see some numbers here, which we based on assessments conducted with our Shippeo customers. So let me start at the beginning. You know, like visibility becomes even now a requirement in tenders. So what we have seen across our customer database is that we have a 20 to 30% increase in number of tenders won against competition. And let's say you lose less business opportunities if you offer directly visibility for your services. And on the other side, what does visibility, why is it so important? Again, you can see that customer service lack a lot of information. So what we have seen across our customer database is up to 50% increase in productivity, but because customer service teams can better treat incidents. And of course, what's important also for today, and what you will see also with our customer AsstrA, the better management of subcontractors. But not enough. We have high costs of waiting and dwell times as customer sides. So what's happening is that you can, with this visibility, better manage and anticipate delays. So you can decrease up to 20 until 30% dwell times, because you can directly anticipate delays, communicate with your customers, and see with your drivers. The last point, what we have seen in operating warehouses is that if you have no chance to anticipate delays, you cannot allocate your resources efficiently. So what is happening also at the warehouse and at the sites is that we see up to 20% increase of productivity, because the warehouses can better allocate all their resources. So let me hand over to our guest and customer speaker Vladislav.
Thank you, Daniela, and good morning, everyone. I'm not sure that if you can see me, probably yes. Good. Yes, these were exactly the questions which Daniela mentioned and which we also had before we started our visibility challenge. But before I go to the visibility challenge, just let me explain you our background so you understand the setting in which this challenge occurred. AsstrA is a global third-party logistics services provider. We are present with 39 offices on continents of Europe, Asia, and North America. We have there 1,000 people who do provide transport services by all four modes of transport: road freight, sea freight, rail freight, and air freight. This accumulates in over 200,000 shipments per year. Now, this being the raw facts, and a few words about our service, as I like to call it, it's based on three big pillars. One pillar being key account management. It's a combination of a very personal approach, even for large accounts, and at the same time being able to operate efficiently as they require us so. Then trade lane management. This makes sure that our 150 strategic country-to-country relations are managed by 50 dedicated teams. And this makes it possible that we have the required local knowledge and local expertise. Last but not least, supply relationship management in a fragmented market, especially as the European road freight market. It is very important that we can combine smaller and mid-sized truck and operating fleet owners with large customers, because this creates optimization for them. Yes, as I told you before, we are working a lot with large customers. Actually, the 30 global accounts in our company account for 27% of our turnover. Of course, this is privilege on one side, but the challenge on the other side as well. You have steady flows, which you can use for your monthly planning and forecasting, but you have also to cope with high requirements for service. And since 2016, there has been an ever-increasing pressure for an additional KPI, this being track and tracing of customer shipments, provision of estimated time of arrival at the loading and unloading side, and placing of shipment events, or how they're also called as well, milestones. Danielle explained you before why the customers were looking for that in order to increase their supply chain efficiency overall. And I can tell you it has been really a very high priority topic in their agenda. I believe every second or third meeting was always on the visibility challenge. And we understood quite fast that we need heavy investments here in order to keep pace with our customers. Now, in 2017, we started our first pilot with a mobile application for track and tracing. The design was pretty simple. It had, however, a more complicated background. We had to make sure that all events and ETA will be transmitted into our transport management system and then further to the customer. So they required a lot of resources. And also to make sure that we get the ETA, we first started with a draft version of Google. We were able to get their ETA forecasting from Google Maps through an API. Now, during that time, we made three key lessons. First being that to delegate the work of milestones placement to the drivers was not the right decision. They have a lot of different tasks which they have to fulfill over the day, and in the end, we had to make sure that our forwarders were always in touch with them. It required a lot of training, a lot of correction of manual mistakes, which happens during the driver placed the milestones. And in the end, it decreased the efficiency of our own people. We did less files per day during this pilot. And even then, the manual mistakes still corrupted the data. So in the end, the data which the customers received were not correct. And these efficiencies about which Daniela was talking were not achieved. And the third point being that the API, which we had with Google's for the ETA forecasting, did not deliver correct data. still, even back then, there were a lot of mistakes, and the AI algorithm which Google used for calculation of the ETA was not sophisticated. However, during the time, we also encountered another solution to our challenge, this being visibility through telematic systems and transport management systems of our carriers. So we decided for two tasks which we had to fulfill. First was to find a partner who would help us to create our own visibility solution, and that we could deliver then trustworthy data to the customers and optimize our processes. And second was to achieve a visibility rate of 50% of all our key account shipments by the end of this year of 2021. You won't be surprised who our partner was decided for. Shippeo presented the best solution, and Daniela will now explain you how we as a customer benefit from their multimodal visibility network.
Super, thanks a lot. So let me show you, and if you remember the first slides, I already presented to you that we can connect to all various kind of data sources. So what you can see here is a multimodal approach, and that we, besides FTL, can also receive data on LTL, on parcel handling unit level, but also on ports and ocean freight. So we can see already that already half of our integrations are advanced TMS ones. Why is that so important? Of course, we can also connect to telematics, but you can see it's highlighted. We try to remove more and more the need for manual pairing, because this is a real changer for data quality. You can imagine we have less mistakes, better data quality, and we have a stable API integration with the TMS systems of our carriers, forwarders, and shippers. So what is also important to highlight is that all our data transfer and storage of the servers are hosted only in Europe. So we are fully GDPR compliant platform. And we will see it later on a slide, but what is also important to mention is that we focus also on our monitoring, so on our tracking compliance, and we monitor 24/7 all our integrations. So if there's any incident or data problem, we are the ones who will see it first. So what I would also like to present in this context is our carrier onboarding center. And we have two important topics here, but let me start with the onboarding center. So we made it 100% free and neutral for carriers. So this data is not used for any tenders. So this is basically that we have a really lean, fast and high quality onboarding process where the carriers can enter the data, and we can, for example, directly connect to the telematic provider, or let's say we kick off the TMS integration where we have a dedicated carrier management team at Shippeo, where we have a dedicated carrier manager even for every carrier. So you can see our satisfaction rate for the onboarding center is 98%, so really good. And the second topic I mentioned is, but we will see it later also in a slide from Vlad. So which is one of the fears, we do not track 24/7 carriers. So we start our tracking 1 hour before the loading slot until the delivery. But I will come back later to that point.
Exactly. So as you can see on the screen, we start to see the shipments online only 1 hour before the loading. For us, this is still enough time in order to show the customer if we are going to be late or not. And at the same time, carriers do not have to be worried that we see other shipments where AsstrA is not their customer. So for the two tasks which I told you, we have been able to fulfill. So currently we are on track. We are doing over 2,300 shipments now per month, which are tracked and provide also an ETA. and this corresponds with a 300% growth rate of visible shipments in 2019, or 480% even in the last year. Now, of course, having milestones and having the data in the system is one thing, but on the other side, we still have to make sure that the ETA which we deliver to the customer is accurate and trustworthy. And Daniela will explain you how the ETA of Shippeo helps us to deliver this accurate data.
Exactly. Thanks a lot. So let me begin with the problems, or why is it not easy to give an accurate ETA? So what we call routing APIs, so not to, the standard map providers. So we have for road transportation. So you can see that things like breaks or time to load the goods, time to offload, this is not taken into consideration, of course, because it's just a routing provider. So, and what is also missing for those providers is that they cannot take into consideration historical data. So the result is a poor ETA. We have seen the lessons learned also from AsstrA, is that the ETA prediction, especially long before, or we can see up to 24 hours before the arrival, it has a kind of error up to 16 hours in average. So you can see the pictures below, which is a simplified flow. You can see the truck is driving towards the loading side. The driver can have a short break before he needs to go to the first delivery site, takes another break, and to the second delivery site. So here we have, of course, restriction for routing APIs. You can see a little box, just wait, go back. Yeah, thank you. So we have major uncertainties, what we as Shippeo will see in the next slide, which we take into consideration. So beside driving regulation, waiting times, and what we mentioned for dwell times, we have also parameters like traffic and weather. And you can see below if we have milk runs or LTL flows, which go to more than one delivery site. So why do we manage as Shippeo to have the most accurate and reliable ETA in the industry? So this looks quite technical, but let me simplify it. So you can see in the middle, the gray boxes that we have besides, of course, the routing information we take also in consideration. We have an internal database which takes into consideration all different kinds of data. So beside the event information and the GPS positions from telematic or our app, we take into consideration plus 200 features our algorithm is based on. So what could that be? So you can see beside the average time spent on site, we mentioned weather, and but what is worth it to mention is that our machine learning ETA is learning on historical data. So it looks at drivers' past activities, which also contains average time on a certain lane. So our ETA can learn if, for example, your driver is having patterns on a certain lane, the ETA can take it into consideration. And not enough, what do we have on top of that? So we at Shippeo, we have dedicated ETA dashboards, which are monitoring constantly the reliability and accuracy of our predictions. So what is the results? You can see in red the routing API we just talked about, and why it cannot manage to be more accurate. And you can see the blue line, which is our machine learning ETA just described. So you can see the biggest difference is, of course, the uncertainties. If we have up to 3 days before the delivery. And this is where our machine learning ETA, which is based on all these different kind of parameters, and have our algorithm behind is, of course, the one who can also anticipate all these things discussed, even up to 3 days before the delivery. Super. So this is from my side. So I'm happy. I think it's now your time, Vitaly.
Thank you, Daniela. Thank you. The beginning of our cooperation with Shippeo allowed us to accelerate the development of real-time visibility project and immediately increase the number of connected suppliers. When we thought about the project of real-time visibility, we followed three main goals for whom we want to do it. First of all, of course, we thought about our clients, better quality for them, our competitive advantages, and added value as a 3PL provider. Then we thought about our employees, increase their efficiency and optimize their working time. And the third, these are our carriers, increase communication speed with them and improve forecasting and future planning to connect a free order with a free truck as close as possible with the loading site to eliminate free miles. And how do you think, who is the most dissatisfied, I can say, in this trio? I think you guessed it is this is a carrier. If everything is clear and countable with the benefits that Daniela and Vlad mentioned before for client and for our employees, then for the carrier, not everything is so transparent and clear. And there are many fears due to which it is sometimes not immediately possible to convince carriers to give access to their GPS data. And it often takes a long time to get agreement from the carrier, and this is our main task. Next, please. And a few words about the technical part, how it's look like, the cooperation, and how it looks so that everything is beautiful on our monitors. Integration of two systems, I mean our TMS and Shippeo portal. Then integration of GPS and different telematics. The third, it's data interchange between AsstrA and client. Here I mean EDI with different TMS of our customers. Technical support. It's an invisible part, but extremely important. Here, locations, plate numbers, telematics, all details must be correct to see a good picture on our screen. And collaboration with carriers. First of all, convince them, as I said, and then remind them to switch on connection. For example, very often supplier manage the data sharing from his own telematic portal. Okay, next. The development of the real-time visibility project and the opportunity that we that have appeared thanks to it pushed us, AsstrA, to further improvements in our system. We create our own carriers portal. This is a TMS for carriers. All our orders are available for them, and they can manage them in this portal. Forward the dashboard. This is a one-page dashboard for operational team, for operational employees, which with request for quotations, open orders that must be where they must find the trucks, orders in transit, and other operational links to and tasks for our operational staff. And then customer portal. this is a TMS for clients with their orders dedicated to AsstrA. Track position, ETA, events could be checked by customer themselves in a customer portal. All these systems are connected to each other and takes information from our TMS. It's like an operational engine. Thank you everyone for joining this session. And Diana, let's go to the question.
Yes, thank you, Władysław, Vitaly, and Daniela. Before we go ahead and take some time for questions, when we comment, you will receive per email the recording after the webinar. It was actually one of the first questions that came. So yep, you will have all of this. You will have the presentation sent to you by the email after the webinar. If you still have some questions, please be sure to type them into the question box in your control panel. We already have actually some questions, so I already responded to the first of them. The second one is, what are the main issues for carriers?
Okay, I can answer. I think the main issues, the main fears of carriers, or the main frequently asked questions, I think it's you don't want to pay extra for this service for data sharing, or for example, how can I control what do you see, or for example, if you see my truck is late, you can cancel me order and take another carrier. Also, carriers said us, for example, I do not see any benefits for me as a carrier from the fact that I'm connected to real-time visibility, and so on. And so sometimes we hear from carriers that insurance company advise them not to give access to third party. They're afraid of theft and such as.
Okay, so anybody wants to add anything to this question about carrier issues? Okay, so we then have another question, is about the air shipments track and trace for AsstrA. The attendee is asking that in their understanding is that Shippeo does not yet. So this is about how Shippeo handles the air shipments.
Yeah, maybe I can start if you then continue, maybe Vlad, how you deal with your air shipments today. But from Shippeo perspective, yes, you cannot compare it like we are already connected to a port or that we receive events from the shipping lines. But what we as Shippeo can always do is act as a data aggregator. So of course, this is nothing we have like yet implemented, like I said, the integrations with the shipping lines or the ports, but wherever you have an event, we as Shippeo could display it on an order.
Yes, and in terms of AsstrA, air freight is now company's 3% of total order count, and we go with the visibility challenge step by step. And we want first to receive 100% coverage for road freight, as this being the biggest, let's say, share of transport modes in the company, and then move on. But let's say for special solutions, for example, pharma customers, which want to see first the tracking of their medicine products, and second that the temperature control works, we have, let's say, another customized solution, especially for this customer, where we place trackers into the shipping parcel, and then we record the data, and it's showing on a separate page in an online portal online where is the cargo and if the temperature conditions are fulfilled.
Okay, thank you for answering this. The next question is, what are the benefits for AsstrA?
Yes, I will probably start with that question. Let's say monetary benefits, we do not have them. Customers are not willing to pay additional money in order to have visibility. It's more like an additional requirement which they add into their standard service agreements. And however, it enables us to keep in track with them. And if we perform very well, we will receive additional volumes. And this also, let's say, some customers have a ranking of freight forwarders and their carriers. And if we perform on this KPI very well, we go up the ranking, and this will help us in the next tender in order to receive additional volumes, additional nominations.
And I can add that for our employees, of course, it's increased efficiency of their work, time saving, or work optimization. Yeah, and as Vlad said, maybe in the future we have some money benefits from this, but now we still invest in this project.
Thank you for responding to this question. We have quite a few questions actually about GDPR. So how do you handle GDPR regulations in European Union? Tracking a transport with GPS for ETA updates. And also, additionally, there is a question about GDPR management in Germany.
I can start on this. So as I explained in the earlier slides, we do not save personal data about drivers. We only start tracking 1 hour before the loading slot. So just a simple example, if the loading, if we receive the time information for 10 o'clock, we just try to get the first GPS positions 9 o'clock in the morning, like 1 hour before. So what we also do not save is data about breaks. So when working with Vitally closely, we also had some fears of carriers if they do not fully entirely do their break. If we can see this, no, we don't save this information. So and we have also available on our homepage, if you're interested in, we have the terms and conditions which clearly state all what has been said, what we track, and that we stop directly after the delivery. So and I think this is what Vlad mentioned. What is also important is that if you have LTL flows, that we do not track or we do not receive the information on other customers or on other delivery sites. So we receive from our customers, so from the Shippeo customers, you can imagine we receive a kind of A to B for loading and delivery, and this is the lane we track as Shippeo, where we start 1 hour before and we stop right after the delivery.
Okay, thank you, Daniela. Maybe you can add some details about the data used by the shippers. This is another question, how the shippers use the data.
Yeah, I can start, but maybe Vlad wants to add some information how their shippers or how their customers use the data.
Sure.
So if you remember the slide with the pain points or the biggest benefits, this is one key differentiator, of course, how you can use the data. Imagine if you need to allocate your resources on a certain day, but there's an incident, a big delay, a change on the lane, a change in delivery. So we can also anticipate delays up to 1 day. So this is one of the key differentiators, how you can use, of course, the data, or how visibility is needed in logistics. On the other side, maybe you remember the small picture of the stressed man, so of your customer service teams. And I think this is one of the big points also for AsstrA, is that you remember the classic example, where's my truck, phoning or taking the phone, calling. And we, of course, manage all this, how the shipper is using the data. Maybe one thing to add before I hand over to you, Vlad, is what is also existing. Vlad mentioned it also, their customers have a customer portal. We as Shippeo, we offer also customer portals for, let's call them end customers. So we can give also a kind of public link, you know, this also from the B2C business, which is one link with your delivery, where also you can send it externally to someone, instead having your customer service team sorting it out, plus the customer portals, what Vlad mentioned already, what's AsstrA already providing to their customers.
And worth it to mention, you have a mobile application for this, correct?
Exactly, and on top, our mobile application adds into that.
Yeah, just maybe a practical example how customers work with it. They place big monitors in their warehouse, let's say at a convenient place where the staff is usually passing through. And on the monitor, they can see all the shipments which are planned for today and the ETA which is being provided, for example, by AsstrA, and then they see if there is deviation. So earlier you would have maybe a piece of paper and you look at this paper, but you're asking yourselves as a warehouse manager, okay, where is this truck now? And exactly happens what Daniel explained with the stressed man with the phone. And if you have this right at the desk, you can adapt more quicker, you can allocate your staff quicker, and this creates in the end savings for you. And yes, reduces also the dwell times, because then you don't have less truck queues which are waiting for their place to unload, as Daniela also explained. Maybe also to add, sorry for the question which was earlier in terms of GDPR, it's also a requirement of Shippeo. When we onboard the carriers through their onboarding center, we have to sign a paper by our subcontractor, the carrier, that he allows us, AsstrA, to use his data. Without that, we're not even allowed to onboard the carrier.
Okay, great. So thank you for those answers. I have here one question that is quite long, but just to sum up, I guess, are 3PLs coming forward to use Shippeo, or are you seeing more B2B, B2C businesses requesting this on behalf of their 3PLs?
Trying to read that up again. Maybe also a good question for Vlad. So I think when I start on this question, so thanks for that, Diana. You have seen that before we started our relationship and cooperation with AsstrA, that they did already a trial on their own. So I think the need for visibility, as Vitaly and Vlad explained, is becoming more and more a requirement. And you have seen, so that the willing to pay at the end it's not there, but it becomes a standard requirement. So we have both sides. So of course we as Shippeo are approached by 3PL, and not to forget, so if we see, of course, also only your end customers, shippers or producers, but we also see AsstrA, and Vlad can add to this, in the management of your subcontractors. So Shippeo is not only added value for your end customers, but also for your own organization. So we have this definitely, we are as Shippeo being approached from the market.
Yes, definitely. It does not make sense for us to, let's say, build up a known solution, because, as you know, Shippeo is a successful startup. They have also investors which made huge investments. So there are enough resources to develop a very sophisticated solution. You understand this machine learning, for example, ETA algorithm, This is a huge work. It allows a lot of qualified specialists, data science, IT specialists, in order to create something like this. And for us, it would be very difficult to make something which would adapt to such high standards. So it's better to outsource this, and we're happier that we can, let's say, have Shippeo here as a trusted partner for this. And I can tell you also what I'm seeing from the competition, which tried to build up their own solutions. It looks like they're slowly but giving up on them, and also looking on the market for better solutions.
And Diana, maybe one thing to add before we move to another question is, how do we as Shippeo assure that we are, let's say, the best provider for the needs for a partner like AsstrA? And it's also the development which goes into, of course, such a journey. And AsstrA is, of course, benefiting also from our roadmap and how we move forward. And this is one thing, and this is why I focus also the word relationship, because I think it's both-sided. So if we see that AsstrA has a new need or a new, let's say, demand, of course, it's a journey together. And this is what also our customers, and especially the 3PL market, is also benefiting from. So it's, of course, we are not working in silos. So if we have, you have seen, we started from roads. So who knows the history of Shippeo knows that we started with FTL, with the road business, and see where we are today. So we can cover more and more. And of course, this would be a different if you create your own track and trace. So getting GPS positions from a telematic provider seems easy, but you can see that it's much more behind. And this is that we as Shippeo can assure that we are the best provider to enable you to improve your business and to improve your services for your customers.
Okay, thank you, Daniela, for this answer. It is actually us answering one of the questions. I also have a question for you. Does Shippeo offer integration with smaller regional carriers who may not have strong IT know-how?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can be quick on that. Yeah, you have seen the different ways of integrating, and you do not need to have a full advanced TMS. We can integrate, of course, directly to telematics within the truck. But what we can also still do, so of course it's not a preferred option, to be honest, but we can also live with CSV import-export, which we call a TMS light integration. So of course we can integrate everyone, and even if it's, let's say, not that advanced, this is why we mentioned our Shippeo app, which a not completely not integrated driver can use one time. So basically we can cover all different use cases on the market. Doesn't matter how big or small the carrier is.
Okay, thank you, Daniela. The next question is, what are the biggest challenges Shippeo face when doing track and trace?
Yeah, this is also a good question. And the challenges, of course, are the requirements of our customers. So this is why for us it's a continuous journey and roadmap. And the biggest challenge, of course, is what Vitaly talked about, if carriers have or fear to share data. So this is why we are so strict on all this GDPR topic. This is why we track only 1 hour before. We have a dedicated carrier onboarding team, so carriers can really talk to someone. It's not that they just need to enter the data somewhere and they don't know what's happening. So we even have people who are doing one-to-one trainings with carriers. We are doing carrier kickoffs. So making a long story short, so our biggest challenge is, of course, if carriers fear to share data. And of course, we also work on less fragmentation of subcontractors. So what could happen is that if we are connected to a TMS, we also try and develop our customers, our carriers also to onboard their subcontractors if we as Shippeo not do this directly.
Thank you, Daniela. I have one question actually for AsstrA. Do you charge your clients more for this service, or is this naturally part of the package?
No, we do not charge. It's as it was stated, it is part of the price. Our, let's say, expectation is that through giving access to visibility for shipments, we will then receive more loyalty of the customer, and that in the end he will prefer us if compared to our competitors who might have the same price and transport capacity on a lane, but we perform better in terms of visibility.
Yeah, now it's I think like our competitive advantages, like from the 3PL providers.
Thank you. The next question is, hello, do we assess how accurate the machine learning is contra reality? Does it learn and adapt based on carrier performance and historical statistics?
Yes, thank you, Diana. A very good question. So if you remember how our algorithm is taking into consideration the data, and yes, for your first question, it learns and adapts on carrier performance and historical statistics. So it takes into consideration historical data on a specific lane, or what I call from A to B. So what is, for the first question, this is the dashboard we mentioned. So what we can compare is millions of predictions, which leads to our ETA. We, of course, compare to the date and time of the loading delivery events and GPS positions. So we have a really big, complicated dashboard, which is luckily easy to read, which we can read complete the accuracy and reliability of our ETA. We can even nail it down to the ETA accuracy of a specific loading or delivery place, or we can even analyze it down on the ETA accuracy of a certain carrier or A to B relationship. So yes, so we can do both of your questions.
And maybe also to add, from our point of view, we also check the ETA, which is, let's say, the last ETA which is tapped in the system, and with the data which we receive from the customer, because they have their own sometimes stamps at the warehousing gate, and we compare it if the data is according to reality. And also what we are doing is comparing to stamps in the CMR, in the document, transport document.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, what is the one feature that is your key differentiator to your competitors, and how is it verified?
This sounds like a Shippeo question, or do you know if it's for AsstrA? So
both.
It's like
I can answer it for the platform, of course. So for Shippeo, of course, it's a multimodal platform. And let's say if I would need to, yeah, you're asking for your key differentiator, it's definitely the ETA accuracy and the ETA reliability. But on top of that, being multimodal.
And if we're talking about AsstrA, I would say it's the personal approach, which we offer even to large accounts. We have really dedicated key account teams and a dedicated key account manager who is really in the position, in the shoes of the customer, and defends the interests also within our company.
Okay, perfect. So I guess that we have one question left. It's a little bit technical. The tracking is linked to license plate of truck. Do we see a good performance of the carriers in linking license plates in Shippeo TMS platforms?
Yeah, maybe Vlad Vitaly, you want to start on it, but yes, for Shippeo, it depends if we have a TMS integration or, of course, directly the telematic. But we can also monitor the pairing rate which is AsstrA really, let's say, one of our best customers. So maybe Vitaly and Vlad can explain how they treat the license plate information in their TMS.
Yes, so in our platform, our employee can see where the license plate is pairing before the order will start, or even when the order is issued in the system. And we know that this carrier and this plate number is connected. There is a notification, order is pairing, and tracking will okay. Sometimes, of course, carrier can work in our system, in our carrier platform, but very often, as I said during the presentation, that the carrier must manage the plate numbers in their own telematic system. And of course, we must remind it almost every time.
And maybe also to add in terms of performance and how we track it on different parameters for customers, for our operational divisions, and also for carriers. So when we look at the carriers which are doing a lot of business for us and compare the visibility rates, so it means how well are they connected with us, and the corresponding also data for milestones, on-time collection, on-time delivery percentage.
Okay, perfect. It looks like we've covered all of our questions. If ever you have some additional questions, you can still reach out to us after the webinar and we will be happy to respond them. Daniela, Vladislav, or Vitaly, is there anything else you wanted to cover before a wrap up?
I just saw a last question from
oh yeah, that's true. Yes, so how do you track freight if a carrier works with a hub and splits material?
Okay, here we go. Yeah, there are different ways how we track. It depends how the customer sends us the data, of course. So it's also depending on if hub information is necessary or requested by the customer. So if not, quite easy way of doing it is sending the second leg of the trip. And what we are doing firstly this year is also providing hub events. But in the journey with AsstrA, we did not do this yet. Let's say, but for now, we have, for example, we offer that we pair the second half of the trip. Or what we can also receive during the trip is, of course, you can send as many pairing events as you like. So, for example, if we receive for the loading truck A and after the hub it's truck B, we as Shippeo can receive the new pairing event. So let's say we have a continuous tracking from A to B.
Yes, and the reason why we were not doing it, let's say together, because AsstrA has main focus on full truck loads. So usually we, when we track our shipments, we have it from A to B.
Okay, perfect. So before wrapping up, is there anything anybody else would like to add?
No, was really happy to do this today.
Yes, thank you very much for joining. It's a pity that we weren't able to connect face-to-face, but let's hope that the next webinar will be then in personal mode.
Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you very much for joining this webinar, to all of them.